5 tips for long distance motorcycle trips. Let's go. Since I'm a motorcycle mechanic, tip number 1 should come pretty obviously for me, and that's going to be to prepare your bike. How do you prepare your bike? You want to make sure you either do it yourself or someone you trust, take it to a shop, do a full service on the bike. Especially if you're going to be putting in thousands of miles, it's really important to know that all of your fluids are fresh, everything's been gone over, you've checked all of your important nuts and bolts, nothing's gonna come loose. The more that you check before hitting the road, the less that you have to worry about. And when I know that I've completely serviced and gone over my bike, that is the last thing on my mind. I know it's gonna run fine, because you do not wanna be stuck on the side of the road thinking, wow, I really should have checked that 800 miles ago when I was back home. Another important part of preparing your bike is going to be packing the appropriate toolkit. Whether you have a standard or a metric bike, most of the tools that you need are going to be pretty universal around your motorcycle. The exceptions being maybe your axle nuts being fairly large. Going around your bike and seeing some of the general sizes of the tools that you need, bringing a tire patch kit, learning how to use that, all that stuff is really helpful when you're down the road. Like I said, it just eases the mind when you're thousands of miles from home. The last note I want to make about my first tip is to have AAA and make sure that you're paying the little bit extra you need so that they will tow a motorcycle. In the long run, it's going to save you money having to call a tow truck and pay out of pocket for all of that. So definitely get yourself some AAA. If you run out of gas or anything, they will come help you. And on to tip number 2, pack appropriately. This means checking the weather ahead of time, making sure that you have the right stuff for wherever it is that you're going, whether you're camping, whether you're going to be staying in hotels. Make sure that you're going to be comfortable. Now, this also includes overpacking. Make sure that you are not stuffing all of your luggage to the absolute brim. Leave yourself some breathing space, because it's inevitable you're going to be stopping somewhere where you forgot something, you need to pick up something, you find a tchotchke that you want to keep, you got no room for it. This will usually come with time. After a couple of trips, you'll kind of start to realize what it is that you need and what you don't need. But believe me, you can live on far less than what it is you think you need to stuff your bags with. Remember that if you aren't camping and staying out into the wilderness for a week, that you'll be passing through towns, you're going to be stopping at gas stations. As far as snacks and food and things like that, grocery stores, every town pretty much has some sort of supermarket that you'll be able to pick up food and water and things like that. So you don't have to pack a week's worth of food into your saddlebag. You can always stop unless it's special for you. You need something that you need. I think most of us are going to be okay to just stop at the grocery store and pick up a sandwich. Tip number 3, wearing the right gear. Investing in proper, comfortable motorcycle gear is absolutely essential when you're putting in a lot of miles. Being too hot because you have a leather jacket that doesn't have any vents, or being too cold because you don't have any thick motorcycle overpants can really push your trip into being more physically and mentally challenging than it needs to be. As a woman, I found it really hard to find myself gear that not only does everything I need it to do, but that is actually comfortable and fits me well. Over the years, I've kind of managed to shamble together gear out of some used, some old, and some new, to have a proper kit of what I wear when I go on the long distance rides. If you're looking for new gear, I highly recommend checking out gear that is specific for touring. Touring jackets and pants are going to be a lot more versatile, usually having multiple layers that you can shed, whether that being an insulating layer, a waterproof layer, or having vents so that you are able to, when it gets really hot, take out your layers and vent up, and then when it is really cold, you can put all those layers back in and try and keep some of that heat. Of course, this totally depends on where you're traveling to and where you're at in the world. Finding the right gear that is comfortable for you is just going to make your trip that much easier. One less thing to worry about. Almost at the end here, tip number 4, practice long distance riding. If you've never done 100 miles before, try it. Take a day, ride 50 miles out so that you can ride the next 50 miles home. See how that feels, see where your comfort zone is. You'll really get a good gauge for what pace is comfortable for you, and you'll also be able to suss out some of your gear, whether that's your luggage or the actual gear you're wearing, your jackets, boots, pants. What you may find is that things you thought were comfortable just around town are not so comfortable when you're spending hours on the road. So I highly recommend doing some trips like that before you take on your big long trip. If you've never done it, if you haven't been wearing your gear for very long, I have made this mistake before, wearing new gear on a trip without testing it out. So this is my tip to you. Do it. My last and final tip has absolutely nothing to do with the bike, what gear you're wearing, or even where you're going. Positive mental attitude. I cannot emphasize this enough. Having a poor attitude will absolutely destroy a trip, whether for you or for the people around you. When you take a motorcycle trip, going very far away from home to somewhere you may have never been before, it's important to keep an open mind and be ready for obstacles, be ready for things to go wrong, because they inevitably do. When I encountered rain going from California to New York, I had a choice. I could either be absolutely miserable in it, hating every moment, or I could just laugh it off, get soaked, and take it for what it is. Life is too short. You gotta stop taking everything so seriously. And as they say, smooth seas never made a good sailor. No good story ever came from sitting around at home. So get out of here, go out there, go out into the world, strap something to your motorcycle, pack some clean underwear in a bag, and hit the road. Get the hell out of Dodge. Pick a point on a map and go see something new. Long distance motorcycle riding is so much fun. I greatly enjoy it. Waking up in a place where nobody knows who you are, you hardly know where you're at. It's a very addicting feeling. You kind of feel like an old school cowboy, you know, just going roaming from town to town. Anyway, I hope these tips helped you, especially if you're thinking about doing any long distance trips. I appreciate you watching, and if you want to check out my other videos, I got links down in the description. You could check out my trip from California to New York. Like this video if it helped you, and share it with somebody who you want to come on a long distance trip with you. If you want to give my channel that extra spicy love, link to Patreon down in the description, $1 a month. Thank you to my current patrons for helping me out. I love you guys. See you in the next one.